I lost $25,000 on a single car flip, and I've made dozens of other mistakes that have cost me over $50,000. So here's the biggest mistakes I see new car flippers making and how to avoid them. Mistake 1, using your time wrong. Most flippers waste days scrolling through listings, looking for the best deal, and once they find them, they spend a week fixing it, wait another week for it to sell, but every day wasted is costing them hundreds of dollars. I worked with a guy who was making a couple $1,000s profit on every car, but there was one huge issue. The time from the day he started looking for a car to when he sold it was around a month. During each step of the process, he was wasting time, and most days he wasn't even working on the car. Once I showed him how to value his time, everything clicked for him. Now he's flipping 4 cars a month and making 4 times as much. So cut out everything that isn't worth doing and use your time wisely in each step of the flip. Look at it like this. If you take your profit from a flip and divide it by the hours you worked on the car, it should be over $100. That's your hourly rate. Use this number for every decision. Need to detail a car? If a $10 car wash saves you an hour, do it. That's saving $90 worth of your time. If you have to fix something that takes 10 hours but only adds $500 in value, that's losing you $500 in time. So skip it and sell it how it is. Every hour wasted on the wrong task is $100 you're not making on the right one. And with a few good decisions, you can be making $1,000 more on every flip. Mistake 2, buying the wrong car. Beginners will buy any car that they think is cheap, or worse, they're gonna buy cars that they think they can handle, and then they end up losing thousands when they realize they can't. One of my friends bought his dream car with the plans to mod it out and make it really cool, and he decided an engine swap was a good idea. He watched some YouTube videos and thought he could handle it. Tens of thousands of dollars later, it still doesn't run right. So what you should be doing is finding cars under or around the $5,000 mark with less than 200,000 miles, and only buy ones that have some problems you can fix in a day or two. The simpler the problem, the better. Focusing on cheap cars is nice since they sell quick due to a lot of people being able to afford them. You'll get tons of buyers and you can make a couple thousand on every car. While buying expensive cars over $10,000 will sell slow and make you the same amount of profit with a higher risk on your money. But cars that need big fixes like a transmission swap are almost never worth it. You'll end up spending longer than you thought it would take and hardly make a profit after all the time you put into it. Even after 6 years of flipping cars, I find that the flips I make the most money on are the cheap and easy ones. Mistake 3, not knowing the car's history. Without knowing the car's history, you'll end up with one that's been in an accident or horribly taken care of. There's a lot of cars out there that are worse than they seem. The worst flip I've ever had, if you could even call it that, was when I bought a Porsche Cayenne for $18,000. The seller gave me a clean Carfax and the car looked perfect. Long story short, a month later the police came and took the car from me. It was stolen from the dealership and I was given a fake title. After that, I decided to buy a Carfax for it to see if it said anything on the report. And when I compared the date on the title to the Carfax, they were different. That one little mistake of not comparing the date cost me losing a $28,000 car, and I never got my money back. To see the history, buy a Carfax report and look over it for any accidents, inconsistency, or problems the cars have. And if you want a Carfax, I'll give you one free. It's linked in the description. Mistake 4. Overpaying for cars. People find a car they think is a deal and become in love with it. And we all know what happens when you're in love with someone. They start beating you up and you stay with them since you love them. I'm kidding, kinda. But this is what happens when flippers decide on a car they want. They vision themselves owning the car before even going to see it. Then when they show up, it's in worse condition than they thought, and they'll end up paying full price for it anyways. Then once they get home, they have to fix up many more problems, and when they get around to selling it, they realize they made a huge mistake. The car isn't as cool or worth as much as they thought it was, and they end up losing money on it. The worst thing is, most flippers will make this mistake over and over and never really learn. So you have to have no attachment to cars. Then confirm you're buying the right deals so you're not overpaying. You do this by making sure you know its actual value. To find that, compare the car you're looking at with other cars' prices. And then you know the market of what they're selling for and just pay less than that. Because if you underpay, it's impossible to lose money, but if you overpay, it's impossible to make any. Mistake 5, trusting sellers. Here's what trips everyone up. They believe what sellers tell them, leading them to not inspect the car as well as they should and end up with expensive issues they need to fix. I bought a car where the seller said it needed a simple sensor replacement. I trusted him and it was one of my first cars, and so I didn't scan the codes to verify it. And turns out that car was practically unfixable. 3 different mechanics couldn't figure it out, and the only solution was an engine replacement. So anytime someone tells you something, assume they're lying and check everything yourself. If the photos show problems and they don't tell you about them, they're lying, and likely about more than you think. When they mention a specific thing that needs replacing, ask them how they know, because they're usually wrong or downplaying the problem. When you're in person, read the car's condition. If it's dirty and not taken care of, the maintenance was probably ignored too. If a newer car has problems, even with low miles, something bad likely happened. Maybe it was crashed. Once you buy a car, every problem becomes your fault. So find them all before buying it, not after. Mistake 6, ignoring repair costs. Not only ignoring the cost of the repair, but the cost in terms of time spent on it. I've seen cars that are priced 2 or 3 times lower than other similar cars, but they have some sort of problems that make them still not worth the price they're listed at. Like if a $3,000 car is only selling for $1,000, but needs $3,000 of work, of course it's not worth it. To figure out if it is worth it, before buying it, research the issue it has, what parts cost to fix it, and how long it takes you to fix. Then work the price backwards. If similar cars sell for $3,000 and you can get this one for $2,000, you have $1,000 to work with. But let's say a bumper costs $300 and takes 3 hours to replace, that's $600 total cost. Including your $100 an hour rate, you're gonna have $400 left or 4 hours left for repairs on the car to make it worth it for you. If the car needs more work than that, walk away. Many deals have body work or major repairs that actually lose money once you calculate the real price of fixing them. So think about this through every problem, add them up, and see if it's worth it for you. Mistake 7, not negotiating enough. Someone that thinks that they're negotiating is different from someone who's actually trying to get the lowest price. A beginner might offer $500 less than the listed price, and then the seller's gonna say, I'll take $200 less. And the beginner's gonna be like, hey, cool, let's take it. And they're happy that they negotiated, but they really only saved $200 when they could have got even $1,000 or even more off it. With negotiation, you can take already good deals and make them even cheaper. And the better you are at it, the cheaper the price you'll get on almost every car. Negotiation isn't only about when you start talking about the price, but when you first start talking to them. Always be pointing out problems of the car and acting a little disappointed with them. Then once you've decided you'd buy it at the right price, put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Offer a lower price that kind of makes you nervous to say. And after asking them, keep asking and giving them reasons why their car isn't worth as much as they think it is. And then ask again. You can't save money if you don't try. In worst case, they just say no, and then you decide if whatever the price they want is worth it or not for you. Plus, when you walk away from a deal, some people will just call you back and say, hey, come back, I'll take the deal. Or just don't get attached. Worst case, you just go get another car. Mistake 8 is fixing negative value issues. One of the harder things to balance is fixing only the right problems, not every one. A normal person might waste hundreds of dollars and hours fixing a car to look brand new, or they might hardly fix anything and resell it expecting a big profit. Just like when I used to buy cars a while back, I'd make sure my cars were in perfect condition because I kind of have a thing for perfection, and if it's not perfect, I'm like, it just annoys me. But I'd spend hundreds, even thousands getting dings out, repainting panels, replacing parts that are hardly worn down, or even just doing like preventative maintenance that wasn't really needed. All of this stuff is cool and the next buyer is going to appreciate it, but they're not going to pay you more for the car. And if they do, it's still not going to be worth it for you. The key is to balancing what you fix and what you leave alone. Only focusing on what costs less than the value it adds. Think things like fixing faded headlights. It costs $10 in 30 minutes, but it's going to make car looking from worn down and old to new, well taken care of, and it's going to add a few $100s extra to what they think the car's worth. But something like a major dent repair and a repaint that costs over $1,000, if the car's only a few $1,000s, then it's not going to make you your money back and it's a waste of time. So look out for things like this and avoid buying cars with them. And if you do buy a car with them, sell the car with the problems. Do things like getting rid of check engine lights, minor fixes that make the car look a lot better, a nice detail. All of these are going to add much more positive value to it. Mistake 9, buying overpriced parts. What's cutting into many flippers' profits is overpaying for the parts. Someone I was working with named Jason was always buying OEM parts for everything. Instead of paying $20 for an aftermarket one, he'd end up spending sometimes $200 for one that did the same thing. And almost everything he bought was double, sometimes even 10 times more expensive. Once he started to buy cheaper parts, he was saving a few $100s every flip, and it added up to almost $2,000 extra profit every month over all the cars he was flipping. So there's a few ways to get cheap parts. For ones under $50, I'll go to an auto parts store so I don't have to wait for shipping. And if they don't have it, I'll buy it online through somewhere like Amazon. And always pay extra to get the quicker shipping so I can get to work sooner on it. On more expensive parts, a lot of the times it's worth it to just buy used parts on eBay, at junkyards or Facebook part outs. As long as it works, you're gonna be fine. Just don't go to the extremes to save a few bucks. Like if you're finding a used part that's saving you maybe $50 but takes 3 hours, just buy an aftermarket one and move on. Mistake 10, not detailing cars well enough. If you were looking to buy a used couch and you found one that was all dirty, you wouldn't even think to clean it and you would instantly look for a different one. But if it was brand new looking, you'd happily buy it. It's even more extreme for cars. A car is an expensive purchase for someone, and if it doesn't look brand new, they're gonna feel like it's a used car, they're gonna be more likely to negotiate, or they might not even buy it at all. And just from it being clean, they're gonna assume it was taken care of better and be more likely to buy it. So spend the extra hour, make it perfect, deep clean the wheels, clean the interior plastics and carpets. It's gonna get you hundreds more for it. Mistake 11, making a bad listing. With your car being perfectly clean, it's gonna look better in photos, which is gonna get more buyers. But you've gotta also take good photos. Most listings on Facebook are just horrible. They don't tell you much about the car, and the photos hardly show the car you're trying to buy. So to get a higher price and more buyers, take photos in a nice neighborhood with good lighting. Show off every single angle and area of the car. Then write a short but complete description with everything in it, and have it answer questions that people have about it, and list out all the important things about the car. Mistake 12, not telling people about problems. Practically every car I go look at is in worse condition than I was told. There's many listings that say the car is perfect and has no problems. Then I'll look at the photos, and in the photos there's some sort of cosmetic issues. So I ask them, is there any problems with the car? And they still say no. Like, I clearly see it in the photos. And when they do list out problems, they don't list them all. I'll show up in person and it's got several more than they told me about. When you're looking for cars, watch out for this, but it's even more important when you're selling cars to tell buyers about your car, even the problems, and write them in the listing so they know what to expect when messaging you. Instead of being like all the other people, when you tell them the issues it has, they'll show up in person expecting them since they already know because you told them. This makes them trust what you have to say and that you're not hiding anything. If you wouldn't have told them, they're gonna be disappointed when they show up and they're less likely to buy it, and they're gonna wanna negotiate the price down since you didn't tell them before they came. Would you rather lie and have 10 people show up, but they all just leave because you lied to them? Or have 3 people show up that are ready to buy the car right there? Mistake 13, messaging people incorrectly. A big mistake most people make is not messaging people back that are interested in their car. Even if they say, hello, is this still available? It's definitely worth it to respond back, as I've had some people say that, and then they end up buying the car from me. But it's not just about messaging everyone. You'll also need to respond to them the second you get them. Think of it from the buyer's perspective. They want to buy a car, see yours and like it. They message you and continue looking for other cars. A few hours later, after they've messaged 10 people, you respond back. By then, they've already been talking to multiple people about buying their cars and have likely found another one they like more than yours. If you would have responded back right when they sent the message, they would be much more likely to meet up and buy the car from you. During the messaging, always move the conversation forward to meeting them as soon as they can so they can't go talk to other people or see other cars. They're gonna be more likely to wait till your meetup than go look at other ones. This gives you a much higher chance of selling the car to them. Mistake 14, not taking cash only. What seems logical is to take any payment as long as it makes a deal happen. But then you end up taking a fake check or an online payment that gets refunded and they're just drive away with your car. I actually bought a car using Facebook Pay since that's what the buyer wanted and I didn't have a problem with it. And I got home and my payment declined to them. Right then, I could have just ran away with the money and the car, essentially getting it for free. Of course I paid them, but imagine that happened to you and they never responded again. Mistake 15, being slow. If I could tell someone to do one thing to make the most money flipping cars, it would be increase the speed of your flips. Not how long you take to repair something, but every other part. Spend less days looking for deals, less time not working on the car, decreasing the time waiting for parts, and selling cars quicker. If you're able to do each stage correctly, you can easily make 3 times the profit you're making now. Mistake 16, not working enough hours. Leon, a car flipper I was working with recently, had flipped a car that took him an entire month. And by the way, I hate when people tell me something took a certain amount of days, because that doesn't matter. What actually matters is how many real working hours you put into it. And he'd only been working 5 hours a week on the whole car, from finding, fixing, and selling it. It was just because he wasn't taking flipping seriously enough. He was treating it like a hobby, even though he was making more money from it than his job. I asked why, and it just seemed like all excuses. But then I realized he was aiming to make $300 an hour, but hardly worked, so it didn't really matter. And when he started working more, he only ended up making $150 an hour, but made over double what he used to. So track your actual working hours and find ways to work more during the day. Mistake 17, dealing with friends and family. Buying or selling cars to friends and family seems harmless, but every time I've done it, there's been problems that just aren't worth dealing with. If you end up selling a car to someone you know, anything that happens to that car is now your fault. If it breaks down months later, they're gonna blame it on you, even if it's not your fault. And if they don't, they're gonna be thinking it. Recently, I got given a car since my friend didn't want to deal with it. But once I sold it, the new owner ended up calling my friend, and he was complaining about all the problems with it, even though I already told him about them all. It's not that big of a deal, but my friend had to deal with them, and that's the whole reason they gave me a car, because they didn't want to deal with anything. It's just a hassle that's not worth it. There's plenty of deals and people wanting to buy cars that you don't know, so just stick to selling cars to them. Mistake 18, overestimating your skills. So I make YouTube videos of fixing cars. Sometimes I'll spend 40 hours on a single car, but the video ends up only being 30 minutes. People are gonna watch it and think they can flip a car in a day, since that's what it looks like through the video. But they don't consider all the time cut out of the video that was spent working on the car. Fixing cars is really only taking off and putting on bolts, but it's gonna take longer than it looks. Something like replacing a battery is 2 bolts and it can be done in a couple minutes. But if you're doing a transmission swap, it's probably only like 15 bolts, but it's gonna take several hours, if not even longer. So when flipping cars, don't overestimate what you can do. If you've never done it and it's a big job, it's better to work up to it than to start doing something way harder than what you've ever done. Instead, go from things like detailing to replacing simple parts to things like valve covers to alternators to brakes to timing change. And then you could go on to harder things if you want. But to make the most money, really all that's needed is simple fixes. And that's where I make all my money. So only buy cars with problems you've fixed before or know you can figure out quickly. Then push yourself slowly if the deal's good and you think you can fix it. But don't buy a car you don't know how to fix. Figure out what it needs beforehand. Mistake 19, not planning for the unexpected. When I started out, the thing I struggled with was not planning everything before buying a car. I'd see it, and if it was cheap, I'd buy it. But half the time, the car would end up being worse than I expected, and I'd have to spend more money than I wanted to. Over time, I got better at knowing what problems the car has, how much they're going to cost to fix, and the time it's going to take. But if you're new in the flipping game, and sometimes even for me, there's still things that you're going to miss. Cars are going to have hidden problems, or things you just don't notice until after you buy them. So instead of thinking you're better than everyone else, and this isn't going to happen to you, just plan for them. If you plan for issues that pop up on every car, you're going to expect them and be ready for them. Do this by pricing every car a few $100s less than what you think it's actually worth. This way you'll have some buffer when something goes wrong. You can use those few $100s and you'll still be in the profit when you sell it. And if the car ends up not having any problems, then you make some extra as a bonus. Mistake 20 is focusing on things that don't matter. Most businesses fail because people running them are focusing on the wrong things. They try to make it fancy. And in this case, that'd be things like making business cards, getting a dealer's license, setting up an LLC, creating social medias, branding them with custom license plate brackets. Most flippers I work with thinks it takes all this random stuff to flip cars, when it's really more simple than they think. Doing all those things makes you feel like you're making progress and working, and you might think it makes you stand out from other flippers, but they don't make you any more money. All they do is waste your time. To actually succeed, all you have to do is 3 simple things. Buy cheap cars, fix them quickly, and sell them fast. Then you repeat the process over and over again. Focus on nothing other than that and realize everything else is a distraction. Of course, some things can be worth it in the long term, but don't start doing anything else until you're making tens of thousands of dollars a month. Mistake 21 is focusing on market trends. Every person that sells cars is always talking about the car market and how it affects them. I agree, the car market changes. Yes, some cars will sell for more or less, but there's no such thing as a slow or fast market for someone who's selling cars. I've heard countless people say you need to learn the market and only sell certain cars depending on where you live or the time of the year. If you live where it snows, sell 4-wheel drives. If it's winter, don't sell convertibles. And that certain months, cars sell slower or faster. They're all wrong. Cars don't magically sell slower. What's happening is people aren't buying cars some months as much as other months. But if you're selling your cars for a good price, it's always gonna sell. The reason people can't sell cars is because they don't adapt to the price change. They list the cars at the same price as 3 months ago when the market's changed now. If you buy a car when the market's slow, you'll get it much cheaper, then you can sell it for cheaper while still making a profit. If you buy it when the market's high, it doesn't matter if you pay double what you normally do, as long as you can still sell it for more. And less buyers means cheaper prices, so you list your cars for cheaper prices, and you're gonna sell them in the same amount of time. If you're holding on to cars for months, that's when you run into a problem and are gonna complain the car market's bad. When you really should just sell it for a loss and buy cars at what they're priced at now, and then sell them for more. People will always need cars, so all you do is buy cars for less than they're selling for and sell them for more. This makes it so you don't have to worry about what the market's doing ever again. Mistake 22, niching down. Most people get this wrong. You think you're doing the right thing by focusing on only one type of car, and you think you're better than the people who don't niche down. Common niches people will focus on is only buying Hondas and Toyotas, fixing specific issues like head gaskets and transmissions, or going even more niche and only buying a specific model of car. This is what I did early on. I'd sit around and look for specific cars that were in my niche. I even created an entire spreadsheet, and every time this certain car was listed, I'd write down its price, condition, and everything about it. But I quickly ran into some problems. It wasn't making me any money, and there weren't enough being posted, so I could only buy a couple deals a month. And when I did buy them, they were only making me a few $100s extra, when I could have just bought in a whole bunch of other cars and be able to flip multiple cars a week. Every successful flipper I know makes the most money in a broad niche. And that niche is focusing on cheap cars with minimal problems and flipping more cars rather than trying to squeeze out every dollar from less cars. Sure, after you flip 50 cars, you'll know what to work on and you can consider what you like to focus on, but it's not that important. Mistake 23, not investing in learning. This is what the normal progression flippers go through looks like. Let's call him Johnny. Johnny wants to learn how to flip cars. So he buys one, fixes it up, and sells it. But he makes no profit. So he realizes he needs to learn how to do it profitably. This is where he noticed that he paid way too much for the car, he spent too long fixing it up, and he put a lot of money into it. And then when he sold it, he priced it too low. He tries to fix his mistakes on his next flip, but he's not sure how to find a deal or what the car's actually worth. He doesn't know how to speed up his flips, and he doesn't even know that his listing's horrible. Over the years of flipping, each flip he learns a couple new things, but he continues to make many big mistakes on things that he never even knew were problems until he made them. Then he slowly starts making more profit each car, and finally, years later, he's mastered flipping and knows exactly what to do to progress and make more money. The problem is that it took him years to get here. So here's where most people will see this and try to research the best way to go about it, but they'll run into a big problem. Everyone says different things and they don't know how to decide which is the right one to do. Me personally, whenever I want to learn something, I look for someone that's been in the space and learn from them. Just like Chris, who invested in learning the right way from the start. He skipped the years of expensive mistakes by working with me, and we made him $2,500 profit on his first flip using some tricks we went over, and now he's actually making he's making almost $9,000 every single month. I do work with people, but I'm not trying to sell you on it. If you're interested, you can email me. But I highly recommend you invest in yourself to learn the ways to make the most money as fast as possible, so you don't have to waste years of trial and error. For your first flip, don't worry about being profitable. Just try it out and see how the whole process works. You're gonna learn a lot. Then do some research and learn from someone who's done this before and can help you. The thing most people miss is focusing on all the parts other than fixing cars, like finding deals, being quick, and selling cars for a good profit. That's where you make the most of the money. Mistake 24, networking. Similar to focusing on things that don't matter, networking is the same. It sounds cool and you feel like it's something you have to do to make money, but it's all just a distraction that's going to waste your time in the first few years of flipping. You might think building relationships with other dealers and flippers or getting a list of people who buy and sell cars to you is going to make you more money, but it's going to do more harm than good. Yes, I've gotten deals from people by doing this, but the effort just isn't worth it. You can find multiple deals a day without it. There's literally hundreds of cars listed every day you can sort through. So focus on flipping, not talking about flipping. Mistake 25, not always improving. It's pretty easy to hit $5,000 a month flipping cars, and with that you can pay rent and go out to food and live a decent life. But here's where most people stop improving. They get stuck at a certain monthly income and blame it on car flipping, not themselves. It's just like anything else. You have to always be learning and pushing yourself to get better. Learning what makes more money and doing more of that, while seeing what causes you to lose time and money and doing less of that. Every flip should be better than your last in some way. Made 2,000, figure out how to make 2,500. Took 2 weeks, cut it down to 10 days. You'll have flips that do better or worse, but it's about finding deals and making the most of them. Trying not so much to increase how well you do on a single flip, but how much you're making across flips each month. There's always someone making more money than you with less work. So figure out what they know that you don't. Mistake 26, forgetting what you've learned. Everyone makes mistakes, but not everyone learns from them. Every mistake is a lesson to learn, and most people don't even think of them and continue making them over and over again. But the bigger problem is fixing them in the short term, then months later forgetting the mistake and making it again. If you could theoretically never make the same mistake twice, you'd be making 6 figures quicker than you could imagine. Each mistake teaches you something worth thousands, but only if you remember it. That's where mistake 27 comes in. Not tracking your flips. If you write down every flip, every number, what you spent on each one, and how much each part took to do, then you can use that information to calculate important numbers like profit and hourly rate for each one. Now, after a few flips, you can look back on them and compare them with previous cars, and even see what your average is over several cars. Then you use that information to learn about what you did right and what you did wrong. Almost all flippers aren't doing this since it takes a bit of time to write everything down and do the calculations, but it's where you're going to make the most money long term. To make it as easy as possible, I created a free tracker linked in the description that you can use, and it keeps all your flips in one place and does all the calculations for you on Google Sheets. Here's how to use it. First, you put in your car details and how much you bought it for. Then put in all the tasks you need to complete before selling it. Now, as you fix them, put in how much time and money they took. Once you've sold it, fill out how much you sold it for and how many days it took to flip. With all that, it'll do all the calculations for you, and you get all these important numbers. For all future cars, you do the same. And after you've flipped a couple, you can go to the main page. This is where you'll see all the numbers on all the cars in one place and show you the averages across all the cars. Tracking your flips like this is going to help you keep records of every car you've flipped, and you're going to be able to look back to see how you can improve and look at your overall statistics. To get the tracker for free, click the link in the description. But now that you can avoid these mistakes I've made, you need to learn the lessons I've learned. So check out this video where I go over everything I've learned over the years and what I wish I would have known earlier. And as always, I'm wishing you a lucky day.